Hello and welcome to episode 1 of Answers on a Podcast Please, the podcast where we get to know more about the Wesley congregation. My name is Ben, and each week I'll be joined by two guests to share stories and memories and have a little bit of fun. This week my guests are Jon and Margaret Styles, who have been an integral part of the church for many years. Hello both, how are you doing?
Hi.
Hi Ben, we're great, thanks.
Good, thank you.
Now Margaret, you pulled a face there when I said you'd been a member for many years. Is that not true?
It is perfectly true. I was just thinking how many years, and I think it must be nearly 34 years this
coming. Well, that was going to be my next question, was how long have you been there? So 34 years.
Yeah, well, 33 and a half if you've been...
The half's important. It's not
half's quite important. Yeah,
that's good.
Quite there.
And you both play various roles within the church. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? I have a list of them if you forget them. So.
Well, I have been a steward. At the moment, I'm not a steward. At the moment, I suppose the biggest thing I do is editing and producing about half of the online services that we produce on the Wesley YouTube channel, and also helping Margaret on the rota with one of the junior church groups.
Yeah. And I play in the music group and sing in the choir. I help coordinate the WAVE group, which is the teenagers group within the junior church. And in the past, I've been a steward as well. But at the moment, mostly online junior church is taking up, I think, probably most of our time.
Yeah, and of course, those roles will have changed slightly because of being online. So, Jon, you're not running up and down the aisles at church checking to see if the microphones work.
No.
Which is probably a relief for you.
That is a relief for me. Yeah. Well, I am creeping into the church in the freezing cold, checking that bits of cables work and mending and repairing things.
It never stops. Never stops.
Oh, and we all going back to your first question.
Yeah.
Bible study, an online Bible study group.
Of course, yeah, which is still going on.
Yep. We're just about to start 1, 2, and 3 Jon. Next week.
You'll set in.
Tomorrow, more precisely.
Fantastic. Well, let's go back a bit even further, and let's start with Jon. Can you tell us where you grew up and a bit about your childhood?
Oh, well, I grew up in Staines, just down the road, not very far away, and so I was born in the house that my mother still lives in to this day.
Wow.
I went to a local school in Staines, two schools in Staines as I grew up. I was in the Scouts. I very much enjoyed both being in the Cubs and the Scouts, and then the Venture Scouts. Having good fun, going camping, and learning to cook. That's where I learned to cook in the Scouts, learning all the logistics of being able to produce a meal for 6 people over a single fire, or more often a kind of small set of smoldering embers.
Excellent. And we were slightly delayed in starting because Jon was cheering on Leeds at the TV. That Leeds is nowhere near Staines. I'm interested where that connection.
You're a brilliant geographer. I can
Thank
tell
you.
that. Well, my mum was born not far away from Leeds in Yorkshire, and so there's kind of family connection. And when I was a boy, Leeds were quite good at that time. Leeds and Man United were good teams, and because my mum was from there, I had to pick one of them, and that was it. So I became a Leeds fan at that time.
And they're a bigger club than Staines, of course. So.
Yeah. Well, I did go and support Staines Town but that's the Leeds connection. Yeah. And I just stuck with it, as you know. Our kids didn't really understand this. I said, well, Leeds became quite useless, and they said, well, why didn't you support a different team? And I thought, well, it doesn't work like that.
That's not what you do, is it? No, I still power on with Reading, much to my regret sometimes. And what's your earliest memory, Jon?
Oh, I thought of this. I remember my first day at school.
Fantastic.
What I remember about my first day at school was drawing a house, sitting down on a desk and drawing a house. It didn't come out right. The wall was one of the walls that wasn't parallel to the other wall. And I was really cross.
And it still bugs you to this day?
It does. You can tell it does. It really gets to me.
And Margaret, if I pose the same questions to you.
Okay, well, I was actually born in Manchester, I'm an only child. My parents were living in Manchester at the time, and they were Scottish, so they come down from Scotland. They were in Manchester, but they moved to London when I was 2.5, and I grew up actually since I was 2.5 in Finchley in North London.
Oh, lovely.
Which is famous for being Margaret Thatcher's constituency during the time before, in fact, before she was Prime Minister. And having the name Margaret and growing up in Margaret Thatcher's constituency has made me averse to ever being called Maggie. If anyone ever tries to do it, you won't get a good reaction, I'm afraid.
Excellent. And what's your earliest memory?
My earliest memory, I think, was standing in the kitchen in Finchley, and my mum had one of those old-fashioned twin tubs, and my treasured possession was a panda, and she had decided the panda had to go in the twin tub, and I made her keep the lid open so I could watch panda go round in the spin dryer to make sure that panda came out okay.
And did panda come out okay?
Yeah, and still upstairs in our attic room to this day.
That's good.
Actually, to be fair. But
see, that reminds me, I'm not sure that the teddy that I got for my christening, which I still have, I'm not sure that's ever been washed. So maybe maybe that needs a twin tub trip. Yeah, great. So did either of you go to university, or did both of you go, or neither of you?
Both went to university, and that's where we met. So we went to Southampton, and I studied economics and business economics. And I think I met Jon in probably my first week.
Well, definitely in the first week. Maybe the first couple of days. Yeah. Yes, I was at Southampton and studied geography, which is why I know that, like you, that Leeds is a long way away from Staines.
And were you in the same university year while you were there?
Yeah.
We both joined. We were freshers together, and probably at some point in freshers week in the first few days we met.
Yeah, through a friend who now lives in Australia, but who I met on my first day, and her room was across the corridor from Jon. That's how I came to meet him. But of course, Jon's been to university again since, which is why we ended up in Reading.
I was wondering where. So you came to do another thing here?
Well, I came to do a PhD at Reading University. So we were in Southampton the first time, and then I moved to Reading. Margaret stayed in Southampton to do teacher training course, and I moved up to Reading. I've been there, so I've been there slightly longer than Margaret, but
ever so slightly. Well, you've mentioned Margaret's teacher training. Then I wanted to talk about what you do now. I don't want to linger on it too long because it's not always nice to talk about work when you're not at work. But what do you both do for your living now?
Well, I'm a secondary school teacher. I teach at the Holt School down in Wokingham. I'm head of economics and business. So at least my degree's been useful for something.
Yeah.
And I've been there now for this is about my 21st, 22nd year. I went there to do a bit of supply in the maths department because I trained in a previous life as a maths teacher, and never left.
And how's that looking for you at the moment in the pandemic?
Oh, it's okay. We're teaching online using Teams, and probably better this lockdown than the first lockdown, but it will be much better once we can be back in school. There's no substitute for that.
No, of course. And Jon, what are you up to during the day?
Well, I run a business called Similar, which is based locally here. We specialize in using satellite data, images, and other data from satellites to monitor the environment, mostly the land, issues to do with climate change, and particularly in agriculture, monitoring crops and land use change and climate emissions from land use change.
Oh, excellent.
Which is generally very good fun, very exciting. We work in lots of different countries. We have projects with partners in China, in Ghana, Zambia, Kenya, Malawi, and Colombia, I think.
Gosh. But I assume you're not travelling to all those countries at the moment.
And for the past year, none of us have been to any of them.
No, you've been at home or in an office?
A bit of a mixture, working at home or my office is on the university campus. It's not very far away.
Okay.
Less than 10 minutes walk, so sometimes I go into the office. been very beneficial for my carbon footprint.
Yes, that's a good. I think I read the other day that pollution reduced by 7% or something in the first lockdown. Although with the amount of cars that are out now, I'm not sure it's going to be quite the same this time. But let's not open that can of worms. You mentioned you have children. Anyone who's listening who goes to the church will probably know that you have two grown-up daughters. Am I right?
Yes, we have two daughters, born on the same date, but 3 years apart, which made for a very nice 18th and 21st birthday a few years ago.
Yes.
Expensive but fun. But yes, Juliet and Katrina, who many people will know, they grew up in the church, coming to the Wesley Junior Church.
Yeah, and how would they both describe you?
We did cheat by asking them.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Well, Katrina said, how would you describe it? She said a bit extra.
A bit extra, okay. And what does extra mean for those who might not know what extra means? I'm testing you here, John. I could answer, but I'm not going to.
Extra, a bit over the top.
Okay.
A bit extravagant, maybe. A bit, something like that. Maybe you probably know that you probably give a better definition, Ben.
Put me on the spot now. I think you're sort of there. It's not a bad thing, I don't think.
No, I don't think so. That's why.
No, and then when we asked, they sort of said generous. Usually have some time to give to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you'd asked me 10 years ago, they'd have just said embarrassing.
Or annoying.
Yeah.
Or annoying. But, as time has gone on.
And I'm sure there's probably still moments.
Oh, yes.
That
irritating.
Yeah. Sometimes deliberately, I'm sure, but...
I definitely asked too many questions.
Okay. Well, I'll try not to go further with that. Okay, so, John, I might have given you time to think about this. I might not have. But can you tell us something quirky or interesting about you that people might not know?
Well, Margaret spent the one already, which is we have children that were born on the same date.
That's true. Yeah.
We use that, so we need to come up with another one. You already spent the fact that I live in Reading and I'm a Leeds supporter.
Yeah.
And now I'm on to a third. Now you're already stretching.
Well, I mean, I can ask Margaret if you want to have a little think about it.
Yeah, you're stretching me, coming up with 3 quirky or interesting. I've been making sourdough. I've become a bit of a sourdough fanatic, and I have a sourdough starter, which is quite young. People make these sourdough starters and they live for years and years. Well, mine's just coming up to its first birthday, because we started it in the first lockdown.
Right. So you've been going all the way through.
All the way through making sourdough, and our sourdough starter's called Stevie. And have you perfected the dough yet? I would say it's pretty good. I would say.
Yeah, until last week when I accidentally tipped in the wrong type of flour when I started it off.
Yeah.
But yeah, generally they're pretty good.
Yeah, I've been doing bread in this lockdown, but I have to confess I just can't be bothered with the whole sourdough starter. I've just been doing other breads, but there's something quite therapeutic about it.
You play your cards right, I can score you a bit of sourdough starter.
Oh, that's very kind. We have two houses across the road from us. They're two doors down from each other, and every couple of days we see one of them running back and forth between delivering either sourdough starter or something that they've made, because they're baking all the time and they've got too much, so they have this little sort of thing going on where they're exchanging gifts and baked goodies. So I'm always intrigued to see what's in the bags, but I haven't got there yet. Margaret, what's your...
Well, I don't think, I would say nothing. There's probably nothing. But the one thing that I kind of did think was maybe a little bit quirky and interesting is that, and this was a long time ago, that we did a house swap.
Oh, wow.
With people in Vancouver who we'd never met.
Yeah.
And we went off to Vancouver and lived there for a year.
I was going to say, to clarify, it wasn't just for a week.
We went for a whole year. And just,
I think I knew you were in Canada, but I had no idea it was a house swap.
It was a house job swap.
Yeah.
And we just went off. John came home from work one day. I was pregnant with Juliet, and he said, "Do you fancy going to live in Vancouver?" And I said, well, maybe we could have the baby first. And then within a year, we were suddenly driving off and heading off to live in Vancouver for a year.
Wow.
So lots of people do know that, because people who've known us for a long time probably do know that we did that. But that's probably the only I can think of.
It's quite a big thing, isn't it? Yeah. I've been to Vancouver, so I can appreciate that it's a lovely place. So I'm not surprised you made that you made that
Yeah,
decision.
I think the surprise maybe was that we came home again, actually.
Yes, I would think Vancouver or Reading is.
We definitely won on the swap front because
Yes.
the people who came and lived in our house in Grange Avenue, I don't think had quite such a good time as we did living in Vancouver. But hey.
No, but I suppose were you were both households involved in work as part of it?
Yes, well, it was a job. The person who we swapped with, he worked in the head office of the company that I worked for. So we did a job swap. And
yeah.
But at this point, when we agreed to do this, we'd never met each other, and neither of us had ever been to Vancouver.
No.
We just went completely blind.
Yeah, and you're now both. This might come up a little bit later, but you're both very much jet setters, aren't you? You're always off on holiday somewhere.
Well, we'd like to be more.
Well, of course, this year, yes.
This year, not.
But you're skiing and America and things like that.
We do like to travel.
Yeah.
Guilty pleasure.
Yes.
Yes, it's
when we can.
Lovely, fantastic. Right, let's speed things up a bit and let's finish with some quick fire questions, which you haven't had time to think about because I haven't given these to you yet. Let's start with John. So I can guess the answer to this first one: staycation or vacation?
Vacation.
Vacation. There we are. I was right. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Good answer.
Absolutely necessary.
So neither, really. Sweet or savoury?
Savoury.
You have to say that with your sourdough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't. Well, I think that answer's changed over the years, but it's savoury now.
Okay. Lion or early start?
Lion.
Lion. Favourite takeaway?
Thai.
Favourite book of the Bible?
Revelation.
And finally, which celebrity, dead or alive, would Margaret invite to a dinner party?
Which celebrity, dead or alive, would Margaret? Do I? I know it's like I'm breaking.
I know
rules.
what
It's a
it'd be
quick.
for you,
It's a
actually.
quick fire round, but can I think about that?
You can give it some thought, yeah.
Yeah. And then when Margaret's had her turn, I'll come back with it.
Yeah. Okay, Margaret, tea or coffee?
Coffee.
TV or book?
Book.
Glad rags or loungewear?
At the moment, loungewear.
You wouldn't give anything to go out in glad rags.
Well, I would, yeah, but
But
there's
at the
nowhere to
moment,
go.
you're quite happy, and yeah. Milk chocolate or dark chocolate?
Milk.
Favorite roast dinner?
Beef.
Favorite hymn?
Ooh. Why is every single hymn that I've ever known
It disappeared out of your head.
completely gone out of my head? How great thou art.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes,
And what is John's shoe size?
8. 9. 8. Ish.
Depends.
8.5.
8.5. Depends on the
8.5
shoe.
to 9.
Depends
Yeah.
on the shoe. 8.5.
Yeah. John's face there was suggesting I'm not actually sure. Yeah.
I was just making digits off screen with my hands.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Just cheating.
And Margaret was looking at your feet to see. Yeah. Okay, John, have you thought of a celebrity yet? Or
I
anybody?
cop out answer because I think the answer to this is someone a bit like me, but I'm going with Jack D.
Yeah.
Do you know what? And I mean this in the best possible way. Whenever we watch Jack D, I always think it's John Styles. It's a cross between John Styles and my Uncle Mark. The two together. It's just... And Margaret's given me a thumbs up, so I know that's...
Right answer.
Yeah.
Was that a good answer?
It was a
It
good
could have been
answer.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Excellent. I think that brings us to the end for today. So I hope that you two have enjoyed sharing some of your
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's been great. It was
very good.
nowhere near as traumatic as I was expecting.
Yes.
Well, that's good. And now you can just enjoy listening to other people in this traumatic situation for the following weeks.
We will.
So I hope that you've all enjoyed listening and learning a bit more about people who I'm sure you already know almost everything about anyway, because if you've been to Wesley and you don't know the Styleses, then you need to come again. And remember to like this podcast and subscribe to our YouTube channel to ensure you don't miss future episodes. You can also keep up to date with all the goings on at Wesley via our Facebook, Twitter and Instagram pages by searching Wesley Methodist Church Reading or by visiting www.wesleychurchreading.org. We'd love to hear from you too. Maybe you'd like to be involved in an episode of Answers on a Podcast, please get in touch. But for now, as they say in the movies, that's all, folks.